Wow, what a divisive race. This is going to be a controversial review, let's be honest with you. There's going to be lots of talking points. Today we're going to be doing a review, an attempt of a review for the Canadian Grand Prix, round 7 of the Formula 1 2019 Championship. So as always, spoiler alert, you have been warned. If you've not seen the race, now is your time. But if you came here for a spoiler-free review, go watch it, or at least the highlights I would recommend. That's your warning out the way. Let's talk about the race. We're going to start with the big dogs. We're going to start with, sometimes we go through the race as it unfolded. But today, I think we all know where we have to start. Podium coming up on screen in a second. But for the first time in a very long time, the win was not won by the car that crossed the line first. A 5-second penalty given to Sebastian Vettel, who led almost every single lap of the race, consequently meant Lewis Hamilton took another win for Mercedes. I can't quite believe I'm saying that. After the crazy weekend we have seen, where Ferrari have been on top almost every single session except first practice, once again, just everything went Mercedes' way. Now, we will discuss the penalty. And of course, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And you can already tell I'm going to have to tread lightly because I think a lot of people are going to be on either side of the coin here. So prepare yourself. We'll go through the rest of the result. Leclerc P3, very distant in actual fact. Went for a different kind of strategy to Hamilton and Vettel. But again, he didn't quite have the pace to match the front two, and consequently there wasn't a gap for him to stop, so unfortunately had to go a little bit longer than the front two, who were on a one-stop. I think everyone in the entire field actually ended up on a one-stop strategy. Leclerc couldn't do anything, consequently. Bottas P4, okay, a fine recovery drive, fastest lap as well for him, so he gets that extra point for that one. Verstappen P5, then came the two Renaults, Ricciardo in 6th, Hülkenberg P7, a really good points haul for them, and they really need it at the moment. Gasly, a little bit lacklustre today, P8, Stroll P9, brilliant job from him. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. Kvyat rounding out the top 10 with an awesome move on Sainz with a few laps to go. Sainz 11th, missing out on the points. Then came Perez, Giovinazzi, Grosjean. And the two Haas cars we'll talk about, definitely a pretty awful race for them today. Raikkonen P15, Russell P16, outraced Magnussen. That is crazy. Magnussen, we'll talk about him for sure and some of the comments he made. Kubica was the final finisher in P18. Albon and Norris did not finish, but we know where to start. The incident. There's no hiding from it. It was a race where, it was really shaping up. It was a one-stop race, so it was shaping up almost to be this battle of the ages, if you want to call it that. Hamilton and Vettel, who have been building this rivalry for the past few years, we haven't had chance very often to see them scrapping on track. But this looked like we might finally see a wheel-to-wheel ding-dong battle. And it was getting there. Hamilton, through the first round of stops, through the stops, wasn't quite there. But afterwards, once he got himself onto those hard tyres, it was the hard tyres both drivers went onto, Hamilton seemed to have the better pace and was catching Vettel, got into the DRS zone, and the Ferrari straight-line speed was helping out Vettel early doors. But Hamilton was getting closer and closer and closer. Vettel was having issues with the brakes, and it finally came to a boiling point. Vettel goes through turn 1 and 2 and into the chicane turn 3, goes over the grass, couldn't control the car. Then, this is the key bit, came back onto the circuit, squeezes Hamilton almost into the wall. Hamilton has to slam onto the brakes. I almost clapped my hands, but I thought, I'll look after your ears this episode, boys and girls. Hamilton squeezes onto the brakes, has to back off. Comes on the radio, not in a whining way, I would like to say. Comes onto the radio, obviously saying, that could be our chance for the win. Just completely gone. That one mistake from Vettel, which, to be honest, I was squealing. I thought he was going to be into the wall. I thought he was going to take Hamilton with him. And to be honest, I'll say it now because I don't know if I'll have a chance later on. I think this race, if it did have a safety car somewhere, would have really added a bit of spice, especially with the different strategies and Leclerc being the gap behind that he was. But anyway, that didn't happen. But the incident, didn't happen. Nothing happened for the first few laps. Under investigation, and I think a lot of people thought, yeah, well, you know what? Nothing's going to happen. They're going to continue racing. Hamilton still looks the most likely to take the victory because of the pace advantage he had. But then, I don't want to say out of nowhere, Vettel gets the penalty. 5 seconds added to his time at the end of the race. Consequently, Hamilton wasn't able to get past Vettel, but was in the 5-second window. Took the win after the race. He was super gutted, it sounded on the radio. He said, that's not how I want to win a race. And I think for the viewers, I think most of us agree. We wanted to see that titanic battle between these two Formula One legends, and it didn't come to fruition. And ultimately as well, Charles Leclerc, who'd been nowhere the entire race, just on his own in P3, almost snatched P2. And again, I'm a little bit unsure about this, but he did seem to be in the gap. And it was very, very close on the last lap. Had a bit of traffic, but consequently was a second behind the gap. So I don't know if words were had behind closed doors there, but yes, that would have been an awful day for Vettel if he'd have been in P3. Anyway, we'll talk about the penalty though, because I'm sure you want to know what I think, and I'm sure people want to shout at me, so I've avoided it enough. I don't think it should have been a penalty. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't. And I've tried to rationalise it, and I think what it comes down to is, first of all, I agree with Sebastian that he went over the grass, and I think he had very little control on where that car was going once he came back onto the circuit. Arguably, Hamilton could have lifted, but I don't think that's neither here nor there. I don't think that needs to be addressed, really. I don't think it matters if Hamilton did lift or if he went full beans like he tried to do and make the overtake. I think for me, if the penalty had been after the race, I think I'd have been okay with it. I think what more got me, a real gut wrencher, is the fact that it felt like a race that had been building so much. All that tension had been almost thrown away because we knew Hamilton had got the victory, because Hamilton didn't need to overtake. We didn't need to see a late dive bomb with a few laps to go. There was all the tension, like I said, that had been building just went. Which, if you guys follow the channel, will know that's one of my favourite things in Formula One, is not knowing who's going to get the victory. And I think that really made the race quite stale, to be honest with you. And that really got me. But, again, Vettel made a mistake. But 5 seconds, I think, is very, very harsh. Got a win taken away from him today, which, again, I can't definitively say he would have been able to have if he didn't get the penalty, because Hamilton, the reality is, it was quicker in that second stint. But I think racing is racing. And it was hard racing. It was fine margins. But I just think it was far too harsh from the stewards, to be honest with you. And definitely, I want to know what you guys think in the comment below. That was awful English from me saying you guys thinks. But, it's a real debate, this one, and it's going to rumble on for the next few weeks, I'm sure, because Ferrari, this was their time, this was their win, and it's been snatched away so cruelly. And even on the podium afterwards, Vettel didn't want to do the interviews after in Parc Ferme. I do not blame him whatsoever. Up on the podium, held his tongue very, very well. The Canadian fans didn't, booing galore when it came to talking to Hamilton, but Vettel really mature in that situation, came to defend Hamilton. I think both of them acted brilliantly in that situation, because no, booing is dreadful. I'm sorry, I do not agree with it whatsoever. Even if you are a die-hard Mercedes fan or die-hard Ferrari and you hate Mercedes, no place for that in my opinion. Should it have been a penalty? Let me know. I'll do a poll in the top right-hand corner, because I don't want to talk about this forever and ever, but I just think it really put a bit of a damper on today's race, and it was setting up to be a real good one, to be honest with you. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below. We spoke about Leclerc. We're trying to move on now, because although, yes, this will be the main talking point. Leclerc, again, middle of nowhere, really. Almost snatched that P2, but it wasn't to be, and to be honest with you, that's probably fair. Valtteri Bottas, P4. Fastest lap, an okay recovery. Really struggled in the early stages to get past Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen P5, again, similar to Bottas, solid recovery. But Ricciardo we will talk about, and Hulkenberg P6 and 7, brilliant job for Renault. That is awesome. 14 points in the bag. That's going to give him a nice little boost in the Constructors' Championship. Ricciardo's best result since going to Renault. And I think what I'm most impressed with Ricciardo is that first stint, holding Gasly and Bottas behind for so long, being nice and racy in a car that at times this season has been the second worst car against the car that's won every single race. Brilliant. Really good stuff from Daniel Ricciardo today. He seems to be getting better and better and more confident with that car every time he goes out in it. Mega impressed with both Renault drivers, to be honest with you. Gasly P8 stuck behind Stroll for most of the race, and that hurt him with strategy when fighting the two Renaults. But Stroll in P9, cracking job. Out in Q1 again, this damper in Q1. People constantly, and I think even myself, thinking, oh my God, this guy cannot qualify, but boy, he can race. P9 in his home race. Cracking job. And Kvyat, a little bit of nowhere, eventually stealing that point at the end over Sainz. Driver of the day, I've gone with Ricciardo, but Vettel and Stroll, all three of those guys for me, honestly deserve it. Ricciardo, generally for that early stint, and I was just stunned by his pace against those other guys. And some of the overtakes he was making was brilliant to see. Vettel, though, almost inch perfect. That one mistake cost him massively, but again, led almost in every single lap in a car that I don't think had the best race pace of all the cars. A brilliant job. And Stroll, a real, I think, underrated. Is that too much controversy for this episode? No, I think he's a really good racer, Stroll. Cannot qualify, but racing point at their home race, a brilliant strategy. Want to quickly mention Magnussen, nowhere near driver of the day today. Haas in general, as you guys know, if you want to know about Haas stuff, I'm probably the first point of call being a fan of the team. Grosjean got caught in the first lap antics between Albon, Giovinazzi. That ruined his race almost. Had a strong fight back through the field, did Grosjean actually. Ended up, I think, P14. Magnussen, yeah, that was an awful weekend for Magnussen. Crashed in Q2, moaning at the team, running at the car, saying it was his worst race ever. After all they'd had to do, I've been trying to big up Magnussen recently, but that is shocking. I was disgusted at that. That was not good from K-Mag, and I think that's probably made the team reconsider keeping Grosjean next year, but although he even was having a bit of a moan today as well. So, yeah, disappointing weekend for Haas for sure. The championship looks like this. Hamilton, almost 30 points now ahead of Bottas. Crazy to think. And Vettel even further behind. This really is looking like it's going to be a Hamilton season. And we're only 7 races in. And talking about 7 out of 10 score for Canada. A strong race. Midfield was really, really good. Again, I'm saying this to the producers now. I want to see more of that midfield battle. Lando Norris, I mean, we haven't even spoke about him today. Super, super unlucky. I wish he'd have stayed in the race a little bit longer. I think potentially could have got in the mix with those Renaults, but big brake failure, suspension failure. Something McLaren will have to look at. But we come away from Canada. What will this race be known for? I think we'll always remember. Was this Ferrari's chance? Maybe. Maybe this was super long straights. We go to Le Castellet next time out. Paul Ricard in France. Nice long straights on that one as well. I hope Ferrari will be just as quick, because they deserve this one. Just like Bahrain, the racing gods weren't with them today. And you know what? I've got to put my hands up and say that's racing. And, you know, even though Mercedes have won every single race this year, I think it's actually been an alright season. I'm being nice and controversial today because I might as well get it all out. But I want to know your thoughts. Of course, winners and losers will be coming out tomorrow. And that's going to be a divisive one as well. The weekly mailbox, so if you want to ask me some questions about this race, for sure, throw them in the comments below, because we're going to be talking about this for a very long time. And racing at the end of the day should be racing. And I just feel we've been a little bit mugged off as fans today. And it just was looking so good I just think that little special scrap was just stolen from us. Anyway, I'll leave you there. I'll leave you there. That's too much controversy for one day, I feel. The Canadian Grand Prix, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.